Former 700 Club host Christie Watts says you can talk yourself happy. Plus, she made a video about her son that went viral. Lacey Buchanan shares how her son's blindness is helping others see. They join us live on today's 700 Club Interactive. Good morning and welcome to the show. Well, she's a very familiar face around here. You might be wondering what she's been up to the last couple of years. Christie Watts is former co-host of the 700 Club, and she now has something else to add to her resume. Book author. Take a look.
Christie Watts was known for her upbeat personality as a co-host for the 700 Club.
Shouldn't you be doing this with me? And can I put these bands down?
One more time, come on.
But after her divorce, Christie was anything but joyful.
Many of us who've experienced divorce, it's an excruciating, painful situation.
That pain left her discouraged and disappointed in her faith. The very faith she shared on air with millions of viewers. In her book, Talk Yourself Happy, Christie reveals how she found true happiness after heartache and shares how she used her mind and her words to radically change her future.
She's back. Welcome. It's so great to have you
Terry,
here.
I can't tell you how I'm so thrilled to be here with you, and especially with you, because you're just the bomb. Yay!
We do have fun when we're together.
We do.
Hey, I love your book, Talk Yourself Happy, because you have a gift of taking things God's trying to teach us and making them palatable with laughter and a lot of good wisdom in between. Yeah. This didn't come the easy way.
Girl. You know, it's so funny when people see us on television, whether we're, Christian ministers or television people or whatever, they think our life is perfect.
Yeah.
And it's so far from it. We go through the same pits and the valleys and the ebbs and flows like everyone else. We just sometimes have to get in front of the camera and smile when sometimes our heart is broken. And for me, that happened.
Out of that, Christie, comes such a rich well of wisdom, learned the hard way, for sure, but that's the stuff that sticks. Here you are, you marry an amazing guy and you all have a son. I mean, what could be more wonderful? Yeah. And then your life falls apart the moment you have that baby. I mean, most people at least have a little respite in there, but I mean, for you, it was like from the get-go. Tell me about the faith walk at that time and what God taught you and put you through.
That's a good question, Terry. And it's interesting. It wasn't just the divorce. It was all the things that came around with it and then continued to culminate as the years went on. And what people don't know is that I had my son on a Thursday, came home from the hospital Saturday. Sunday, my ex-husband walked out on us. Yeah. And one of the last things he said to me was two things. One, I never loved you. And the second thing he said was, you used to be so pretty. Look at you now.
Wow.
And my body was swollen. I had just given birth to the baby. And it was all these emotional things. So it wasn't just the divorce. That was the beginning of me learning about the power of words, the words that are spoken to us and how we take those words in and how they begin to define us.
Well, we start to repeat those negative words in our head ourselves. Right. That's one of the things you write about is coming to the place where you can stop and let God kind of put you on rewind and learn to speak words differently because there's power in what we speak.
There is. And I kind of got to the point where I went through the not enough syndrome, not good enough syndrome. I wasn't pretty enough, thin enough, spiritual enough. Who would want me?
Surely the problem is me.
Right. Surely the problem is me, because when those words are spoken to you, that's what you kind of hold on to, and that's what I did. But it was through the journey of the rabbi, Jesus, the teacher, teaching me who I am in him. And here's the truth, Terry. I would be on the 700 Club and my joy was real. My smile was real. My love for the Lord was real. But it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And what I realized was that joy came from a place of circumstances. But when those circumstances crashed and burned, God wanted to teach me what true joy, what true happiness was.
We don't get there from here without going through the valley. I mean, I just really think it's not possible. But then on top of that, Christie, you had Chase, who is such a love. I mean, he's just the joy of your life. And he always has been. I mean, he's just been such a great kid from the get-go. But then to have to teach, who your biological father is, why he isn't here, who God is, he's going to make a way for you. I mean, as a mom, there must have been such dark moments for you.
I'll share one of those dark moments with you. Years ago, when I said that my ex-husband left, and I was divorced for years, and I thought that chapter was closed. Something that people don't know is that my ex-husband wasn't a part of our life. Yeah. So it was just my son and I, at all. Yeah. When he walked out for good. 11 years later, I was already in this place of, Lord, what are you doing in my life? Yeah. And I get a phone call after 11 years, and it's his voice on the answer machine. And he says, Christie, I need to come see you and tell you something. Now, mind you, Terry, my son had never met his father. I hadn't seen this man in 11 years.
Well, mind you, you don't know what he's going to tell you. How do you prepare for that?
Right. And what he told me rocked our world.
Share that.
He called and said, Christie, I have stage 4 cancer, and I've been given 3 months to live. And I want to come see you and your son, our son. Wow. And my first reaction, Terry, was this. My son has never met his father. Yeah. Do I let him meet him and then he dies? Yeah. Or do I not let my son meet his father and he dies? What do I do?
Yeah, big questions.
Right.
Big choices.
These are when it's not just about right or wrong or good or bad. It's about what would Jesus do? And seeing as God sees, loving as God loves. Forgiving as God forgives. And here's the truth of the matter. That book isn't all sunshine and glorious moments. That book was God teaching me how to have a heart for Christ. Yeah. And in that process, God gave me a heart to forgive and a heart to have compassion and a heart of trust so that I could look at the very person who hurt me the most and love him.
Yeah, and teach your son to do that.
And teach my son to do that.
How did that work? He came? Yeah. They met? Yeah. What happened? Another book.
That picture, right, that picture right there, just so that you guys know, is the very first time my son met his father.
Wow.
The very first time. And what was so daunting about that situation was that, as I said, my ex-husband had stage 4 cancer of the esophagus. So he was unable to drink or eat or even swallow his own saliva. So he went from 190 pounds to 108 pounds.
Good grief.
So the first time he meets our son, that's what my son sees. So we met at a restaurant, and I tried to prepare my son, but how do you prepare your son for that? And what was so crazy was, because he couldn't even drink his own saliva, every 5 seconds, he would throw up into a cup. And so I'm looking at my son, and my son's looking at me, and I hold my son's hand under the table. And I tell you, it's something about the love of a child that's in God, that God's love is in a child. Because my son wasn't traumatized. He was okay. He just loved him. He loved his father right where he was. Yeah. And so...
And you gave him closure to something very important in his life. That whole idea of, who's my other parent? Where did I come from? I mean, there are lots of kids who don't have closure on that for many, many reasons. But that was a gift that took some sacrifice on your part. Another thing that took some sacrifice was when your ex-husband died. Yeah. You went to the funeral with Chase, who had never really been a part of his family's life. Now, I mean, there are so many levels of...
Girl, there's so much stuff. There's so much...
forgiveness and growth. But Christie, what I admire so much about you is you entered it with trepidation, but with determination. Yeah. And God honored that.
Yeah. But the truth of the matter is, Terry, I wouldn't have had the ability to do that years before. And because I went through the valleys and the pits and the challenges, that I had to turn my life truly over to the Lord, that God used these opportunities to transform my heart.
So talk about talking yourself happy, because you're right. This is not a book that's full of fluffy sunshine and roses. No. But God has made a way for us in the midst of the hurt, in the midst of the pain, to speak into existence His goodness and His positiveness. How did you do that?
Well, here's the truth of the matter. When I sat on the 700 Club for 14 years, there was a level of arrogance in me that I didn't know was there. It was really easy for me to sit on the 700 Club and say, God is good, because my life was good.
Yeah.
It was very easy for me to say, trust God, because it was easy to trust. Everything was going my way. But when I got through a situation or series of years where nothing happened the way that I thought it was going to happen, my trust was wavering. And I say this, my faith was faltering, and my hope was depleted. And I thought how arrogant I was when I would minister to people and say, oh, it's good, it's good, it's good. Sometimes it's not good.
Yeah.
Sometimes life hurts. And that's why we've got to hold on to the heart of God, have the mind of Christ, and love him.
But I think of the prophetic word that was given to you by a pastor who spoke to you and said, you know, God is going to use you to bring healing to the lives of people. That mandate came forward that day, but the training for it came forward through those years.
What a great question. Thanks for reminding me that. In 2001, I was called out in a church, and he said, Christie, you're going to be a voice of hope for those who are in adversity and those who are in pain. At the time, I remember when he stood me up and said that, I was like, I didn't get it, because pain and adversity were two things I really didn't know, hadn't experienced. But the voice of hope came from the Word of God, the Word who is God, and the Word that I had to get deep down into the depth of my heart so that I could hold on to the promises of God.
And aren't you glad he doesn't show you what the journey is going to be ahead of time?
Girl, because I would have said, Jesus, you better pick somebody else. You better pick somebody else.
Listen, I just want to say to those of you who are struggling, suffering in places of maybe what feels like darkness and loss, I want you to learn how to speak the promises of God over your life, and you can do that by picking up Christie's book. It's called Talk Yourself Happy. It's about speaking forth the promises of God that are your inheritance as a child of God. This is available wherever books are sold. Get a copy. It's worth the read. Thank you.
Girl, I love you so much. You are so wonderful. And can I say this one last thing? Thank you for being my friend. You always have, and I just adore you.
It's a joy to be your friend, girl. Really is. Well, coming up, when her son was born with a rare birth defect, this mom soon realized she'd been given the biggest blessing of all. Talk about Talk Yourself Happy. Hear their incredible story. It's next, so don't go away. Well, imagine that you're 23, newlywed, and expecting your first child. It was the most exciting time of Lacey Buchanan's life until she got the results of her ultrasound.
An ultrasound halfway through Lacey Buchanan's pregnancy showed her unborn son, Christian, with a cleft palate. For the next several months, Lacey and her husband, Chris, remained hopeful about the birth of their son. But in the delivery room, Lacey and Chris were shocked to see Christian's cleft so severe that his eyes didn't form, leaving him blind. In her book, Through the Eyes of Hope, Lacey tells the story of how their lives took a dramatic turn with Christian's birth, and how God turned their tragic situation into something beautiful.
An incredible story, and we welcome Lacey to the show. Lacey, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
You know, being pregnant with your first child is just such a time of hope and excitement and all of the things that new beginnings produce. When did you first realize, and how did you first realize that there were complications?
When we went in for the 18-week anatomy scan to find out the gender of the baby.
So early on.
Yes, very, very early.
How did that impact your pregnancy?
It made us ask a lot of questions. We worried a lot more than during a typical pregnancy, and just prayed a lot that our baby was going to be okay.
What did you actually find out at 18 weeks? What was the prognosis you were given?
The prognosis was cleft lip and palate, but there were some more things going on that the doctors couldn't figure out.
Yeah, ultrasounds don't always show everything.
Right.
So this condition that Christian was born with is so rare. There are only like 50 cases in the world or something.
Yes, that's what we've been told.
Wow, unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So your baby is born, and of course you're anxious, and your husband is anxious. You're in the delivery room, and you, of course, are being taken care of after the birth, and Chris goes over to take a look at the baby and comes back and says it's worse than you had imagined. What went through your heart and mind, Lacey?
It was, we were in the operating room. There was so much going on. It was almost one of those, just immediately go to prayer and just it was almost just surreal. Like, this can't be really happening. This can't be as bad as we think.
And it kind of went from bad to worse because the complications of Christian's condition involved his not being able to eat, tubes being put in, procedures that were incredibly painful. I mean, just the account of the pain he endured, and you as a mother, and I'm sure Chris standing there having to watch your child go through this. How did you endure that time?
It was minute by minute some days. It was very painful. You know, we just had to hold on to hope that everything was going to be okay and that Christian was going to be okay. And some days it didn't look like it, but we just had to take it minute by minute sometimes.
Well, one of the things that I know was so difficult for you once you left the hospital, I mean, you said that we were so happy to leave the NICU, the intensive care unit for babies, but then you faced the questioning eyes of the world and comments that people made that you endured with so much more grace than I would have. What was that like for you?
At first, it was almost shocking to realize that not everybody saw Christian the way that I saw him through a mother's eyes, but I learned to approach those conversations with grace so that people would feel welcomed to ask questions and to learn about Christian, because education about his disability was acceptance for him.
Yeah, the key, really, to open the door. So he had not only the cleft lip and palate, but an extreme cleft in both areas. But he also had his vision impacted, blind from birth. What was astonishing to me was the creative ways that you as parents have had to come to the table. If you don't have a child with a specific need like that, you don't even think about those things. But just teaching, what is the color blue? When mommy says she's cooking, what does that mean? Because usually we hear the word and we see the action and we equate it. I mean, this has been for you a life-changing learning curve and activity involvement. How has it changed your life?
Christian needs to use all of his other senses to learn. So we really have to play on touch is the biggest one for him. He's not going to know what an apple is until he holds it in his hand and really understands it. So we've had to get creative with that, and we give him experiences. We want him to just as many experiences as he can get to take in the world, because the world is only as far as his fingertips can reach unless we make it bigger.
Well, and sometimes for you, it's also the process of discovering what unique gifts and abilities he has. What has God shown you?
His sense of hearing is amazing. He's taught himself to play tunes on the piano. I'm pretty sure he has perfect pitch. All of his other senses are just heightened, and he uses them really well.
That often happens. When one sense is taken away, the others ramp up. When something extreme like this happens in the life of a couple, it's often very challenging to their relationship. I mean, how could it not be? The pressures are extreme. For some time, you talk in the book about wondering whether you needed to blame yourself, that you had done something wrong when the baby was in vitro. How did you and Chris sustain your relationship with each other?
It wasn't easy. There was a time where we both were heading in separate directions as far as how we were dealing with it and handling the situation. And we really just had to some days take it one day at a time and work on it when we could and purposefully put effort into it.
Did you get counseling?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
So smart. I mean, so many people don't do that, and then you stop wanting God to fix it.
It's a necessity.
Good for you. You now have Chandler, and I see the two of them together, and they're buddies.
Yeah, they are. They are buddies.
And I see that they really enjoy each other's company. What's that relationship like for them? Who leads who, and how does that function?
So, Chandler, I feel like, has taken over the role of big brother for Christian. He teaches Christian how to be a typical little boy, because Christian can't always see what that means. And so he's kind of taken on that role. And Christian has really taught Chandler, I think, about compassion and empathy. And Chandler loves to help his big brother. So
Christian is now 5 and in kindergarten. And that brings another whole element into his life that must make you feel anxious for him sometimes. How do you handle that? Because children can be so cruel in their curiosity, natural curiosity.
Right. I just, I have grown a thick enough skin where the questions of small children don't bother me. I understand that they wouldn't ask that question if they knew the answer. They're not trying to be mean, they're trying to learn. And so then we step in and educate. Even small children, we want to teach them. I want to show them to be compassionate toward Christian and branch that out to other kids like him.
In the middle of all of this, you created a video that really went viral. I mean, I don't think you had any idea when you did this what was going to happen. You were really expressing your love as a mom for a child that is beautiful in every way and loved in every way at home. But people just really got on board with this. How many responses did you have? How many hits?
There were so many that I'm not able to keep up completely, but I think somewhere around 15 million.
Unbelievable. You'll be answering that mail for the rest of your life. But this was a great opportunity to begin the teaching process. You've written this book, Through the Eyes of Hope, and you have a law degree. Where are you going with all of this, Lacey?
Well, I hope to use my law degree to help families who have been in situations like mine, just in the disabled community. And I just want to spread more awareness through things like this book and just educate people on what it means to have a disability and what it doesn't mean.
Yes.
And just teach acceptance.
That there's joy in the midst of the journey, and that is so clear in your book. And yet, like Christie's book, which we just talked about, the wisdom and the answers don't come without having gone through the fire and the trial. So I really encourage you to read. This is a book of hope. It's called Through the Eyes of Hope. It's available wherever books are sold, and it will be a read that will change your life, not just about Lacey's family, but also as you see others in our community that might not look or behave the same way that we do, but are precious nonetheless. Thank you. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you.
Bless your family. Well, still ahead, we're going to take you to an overcrowded African slum, a place where children are frequently abandoned and abused. We want you to see how Orphans Promise is helping over 400 at-risk children there. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, I want to introduce you to 3 children we met in a slum in Cape Town, South Africa, in a community where 60% of the people are unemployed. See why these little ones have a real chance at a bright future.
Alizwa is 5 years old. His mother died from AIDS when he was 2, and his father was never in the picture. He lives with an aunt who beats him, forces him to work, and doesn't let him eat at the family table. His home life is filled with rejection. The brightest part of his day is connecting with his teacher and friends at this preschool, sponsored by Orphans Promise. He eats nutritious meals, sometimes the only food he'll get all day. The center is located in this African slum community of more than 18,000 impoverished people. 60% are unemployed. Many are involved in substance abuse and crime. And the children wander aimlessly and unsupervised. Orphans Promise sponsors 15 preschools in this community, involving more than 400 at-risk children. The program is so much more than ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. This is the one place Alizwa feels loved and accepted. He's learning typical preschool things, but there's a sparkle in his eyes because this teacher is fulfilling his need for nurture, an important childhood building block he doesn't get at home. Alizwa is shy, but his teachers say he's not sad like he used to be. And he's beginning to learn he can trust people. Unconditional love is having a big impact in this little boy's life. 7-year-old Taliswa is left alone most of the day. Her mother is usually drunk and emotionally unavailable. This little girl has a secret she has not been able to share. She often comes to this preschool supported by Orphans Promise. And on this day, the teacher was reading a Bible story about Joseph being in prison. When she asked the children if they had experienced any tough situations, Taliswa began to cry. She didn't share then, but later when the children were playing outside, she told the teacher her secret. She had been raped by a man in the community, not once, but twice. The teacher talked with her, prayed for her, and then called child services. Legal action was taken against the man, and he was arrested. With counseling, Toliswa is getting back to the happy child she used to be. Thankfully, someone was standing in the gap to intervene for this precious girl. Kids can overcome lots of adversity, poverty, hunger, even loss. But abandonment leaves a terrible emotional scar. Since he was a baby, Sifamandia's mother was usually on drugs and would leave him for days at a nearby preschool or creche. The woman in charge became known affectionately as his creche mama. He told us, "I know she loves me because she treats me just like her own son." Sifamandia is now 9. He still sees his biological mom in the community and even stays with her sometimes. But the love and support he receives from his creche mama has helped him remain in school and steadfast in his goals. He wants to become a doctor so he can help people who are hurting. We really believe he will break the cycle, leave the slum community, and become a successful, healthy adult. In at-risk communities like this, the teachers at our Orphans Promise sponsored programs are a lifeline. Standing in the gap, nurturing and encouraging, being used by God to give purpose and a future to children who had been lost and without hope.
And the color is orange.
You know, poverty is a terrible thing. Drugs, terrible. Abuse, terrible. But you and I have an opportunity to make an incredible difference. What's the obvious way to do that? It's to change the next generation. We can invest in the lives of children who are lost and in need, and we can make a difference. That's what our show's been about today, isn't it? People who have, in the midst of adversity, stood up and said, we can make a change here. God will use us if we make ourselves available. I want to invite you to make yourself available. I'd like to ask you to be a part of what Orphans Promise is doing around the world. Thousands and thousands of children's lives are being changed because people just like you care and are generous in their desire to make a difference. If you'd like to become a part of what we're doing, you can give by going to orphanspromise.org. You can also call our toll-free number. It's 1-800-700-7000. And I want to thank you in advance. God invites us to be a part of His work, and who doesn't want to do that? Well, I want to leave you with Romans 8:28. It's a great scripture for the close of this show. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. That's you and it's me. Let's do it together. Thank you. We'll see you next time on 700 Club Interactive. God bless you.